What a song and what an accompaniment. Good morning. This time and place are hallowed by our presence and our commitment. Whoever you are, whomever you love, you are welcome here. Our faith calls us not to a particular creed, but to a covenant to honor every person's worth and dignity. All we ask is that you come with an open mind and an open heart. I am Ginny Rush, and I'm on the worship team at the Unitarian Universalists of Transylvania County here. Our mission, I want to be able to look at you, is to support individual spiritual journeys and to promote social, economic, and environmental justice. To learn more about us and to sign up for our newsletter, visit our website at uutc.org. We have a couple short announcements. For our good health and safety, please wear masks while in the building, unless you're in the pulpit. And use the clipboards to sign your name in case contact tracing becomes necessary. If you have a joy or concern to share today, please flag an usher who will give you a piece of paper where you can write it down, and we'll include it in our candle lighting.
Ushers are ready for you.
And we also honor those joys and concerns that are kept in your heart. April is Prevent Child Abuse Month, so our special collection for April is for the Children's Center, which does just that. Our newsletter tells more about how the Children's Center helps keep children safe from abusive and neglectful caretakers. They are the only such agency in our county, so please be generous as you are able with your giving and be an advocate for happy, healthy children. Now please rise and sing hymn number 360, Here We Have Gathered.
Glenn's going to join us.
Circle of kinship, come and step inside. May all who seek Him find a kindly word. May all who speak Him feel they have been heard. Sing now together this our heart.
Do not be alone right now. Gather together. Gathering together grows courage in ourselves and in others who see the numbers swelling. It is a small thing, but right now it is an important thing. Great sources of wisdom remind us, just because you cannot stem the tide of all hate, it is still right to do the things you can do. These things add up. Your one thing, my one thing, his one thing, and their one thing, and her one thing. Together, it becomes a big thing. Do not be alone right now. Any liberation, all liberation, is collective liberation. My freedom is bound with yours, and yours with mine, inextricably. Let us together cast our lots, doing the big thing, bending the moral arc of the universe toward justice. Now we will hopefully light our chalice. You should have been here at 9 o'clock. Be glad you weren't. We light this chalice to find inner peace, love for each other, and faith in ourselves. Also, to be welcoming to whomever we meet, and kind to all living creatures. So gather around this light of hope as we share this time together. Now we have a very special message as our wisdom for all ages.
Hello, I am Princess Luella. I hear that once again you are celebrating Earth Month at the Unitarian Universalist of Transylvania County. Wonderful! We celebrate Earth Day every year in April, and it's a special day to remind us how important the earth, our home, is, and how deeply connected we are to it. I asked my friend Kermit, he's a frog, to come tell us how he feels about the earth. Hi, Kermit. Hi, Kermit the Frog here. Believe me, I know it isn't always easy being green, but like you said, we are all connected to the earth. And yet, we have been so disconnected from each other during the pandemic. It's been hard on everyone, but we have had time to think about what is really important and make choices about how we live. On Earth Day, as we recognize how special the earth is, I am inspired by poetry. Oh, yes, I love poetry. Do you know this one? I have a little frog. His name is Tiny Tim. I put him in the bathtub to see if he could swim. He drank up all the water, he gobbled up the soap, and when he tried to talk, he had a bubble in his throat. Yes, but I was thinking something more like this. Our earth is special. There is just one. It gives us water, soil, and sun. People and animals share the land. Let's all lend a helping hand. You can save water, plant a tree, make a better home for you and me. Recycle things, don't throw away. Make every day an Earth Day. Oh, Kermie, that's beautiful. Oh, gotta go. Huh.
Learned some of her mannerisms from Miss Piggy. Now comes the time in our service when we have the chance to share our joys and sorrows. If you were tuning in online, please share your joy or sorrow in the chat. We believe that sharing these stirs energy and support from our community. We light a candle of gratitude for all who serve us in these difficult times. Healthcare workers, frontline salespeople, those who entertain us, enforce the law, and so many others. We light a candle of joy for the fresh breath of spring air, beautiful flowers, baby goats, walks in the woods with friends, aliveness in us and around us, and for the earth which always supports us. We light a candle of hope for the resolution of conflict. We send compassion to those who are injured, homeless, or needing to protect themselves, particularly in the Ukraine. May they get the help they need, and may we all learn to respect each other without the need to have power over our fellow human beings. We light a candle of joy, which we share with Heather, who has just returned from a fun birthday trip to see her stepsisters in Newport, Rhode Island. We light a candle of joy for the opportunity to be together freely and to make and eat pies while supporting UU and our vision together, and also while drinking wine. We light a candle of peace for those who have suffered loss in their families or loss with their health. May they be comforted by the love that surrounds them, and may they know that it's there. Now, please enjoy some special music from the alternate roots. Close your eyes and just listen. Thank you.
To be humble, to be kind, it is a giving of peace in your mind. To a stranger, to a friend, to give in such a way that has no end. We are love, we are one, we are how we treat each other. We are peace, we are war, we are how we treat each other and nothing more. And to be bold, to be brave, it is the thinking at the heart are peace. We are war. We are how we treat each other, nothing more. We are how we treat each other, nothing more. We are how we treat each other.
As we pass the baskets today, I've chosen these words from Edward Everett Hale. I am only one. Sound like the song? But still, I am one. I cannot do everything, but still, I can do something. And because I cannot do everything, I will not refuse to do the something that I can do. Thank you, John. That was beautiful. I should have told you this earlier, but April is Prevent Child Abuse Month. So our special collection today and for the month of April is for the Children's Center, which does just that. Our newsletter tells more about how the Children's Center helps keep children safe from abusive and neglectful caregivers in our county. Please be generous as you are able with your giving to be an advocate for happy, healthy children. This reading is from The Prophet by Cahill Gibran. On work. You work that you may keep peace with the earth and the soul of the earth. For to be idle is to become a stranger unto the seasons and to step out of life's procession that marches in majesty and proud submission toward the infinite. When you work, you are a flute through whose heart the whispering of the hours turns to music. Which of you would be a reed, dumb and silent, when all else sings together in unison? Always you have been told that work is a curse and labor a misfortune. But I say to you, that when you work, you fulfill a part of earth's furthest dream, assigned to you when that dream was born, and in keeping yourself with labor, you are in truth loving life. You have been told also that life is dark, And in your weariness you echo what was said by the weary. And I say that life is indeed darkness, save when there is urge, and all urge is blind, save where there is knowledge, and all knowledge is in vain, save when there is work, and all work is empty, save when there is love. And when you work with love, you bind yourself to yourself and to one another and to God. Now I get to introduce our speaker. R.K. Young has been an administrator here at UUTC since 2015. For 19 years prior, she served as a middle school art teacher. And I'm probably not supposed to say this, but she was the Outstanding Teacher of the Year 3 times. And a grant writer in Georgia. And before that, she worked as a database administrator, car salesman, and dabbler in other exciting career choices. R.K.
Thank you, Jenny. You know what you have to do now? Stand up and sing something. This one's really simple.
May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be loved. May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be loved. May I be peaceful and at ease. May I be whole. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be well. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be well. May you be peaceful and at ease. May you be whole. May we be filled with loving kindness. May we be well. May we be filled with loving kindness. May we be well. May we be peaceful and at ease. May we be whole.
Buckle your seatbelts. You are not enough, and neither am I. And you are not loud enough. Okay, I'll speak up. Crank me up there, guys. I have been reading the phrase, "you are enough," for quite some time before I heard it spoken. That instance came in this sanctuary from the lips of Reverend Eileen, and I did indeed feel a gratitude to hear those words. It was like stepping into a warm shower. But the more often I have seen the phrase and heard it used, the more I have felt that we are losing the counterpoint, that our friends, family, workplace relationships, and so many others are equally as important. And going that far, how much else are we missing if we start acting as though we are so much enough that we fail to enrich our lives with the other? There's a 2016 film called Captain Fantastic that dramatizes a fictional family that has chosen, or rather the parents have, to live out in the woods and protect their children from all the failures of modern society, of which there are many. And keeping themselves in tip-top shape, educating themselves to not just memorize, but to correctly interpret historic documents like the Bill of Rights, and teaching self-sufficiency through hunting and fighting. Do I have to tell you that the parents are white? While the film was well crafted, I ended up being disturbed by it. It's the family version of our heroic myths. I had the same type of fantasy when I was enjoying teenage angst. But if we are privileged enough to have good support systems, whether they are family or community-based, we grow out of this stage and into the challenges of living in community. Or at least we begin moving beyond the categorizing of those who we trust and believe good because we know them, and those we don't trust because we don't know them. So we sometimes pin this distrust on politics, but I have come to believe that we are fluid in our acceptance of individual beliefs if we have bothered to come to know the individual on at least a spend a little time around the table basis, which is, of course, why we should be having more circle dinners. After Lauren Agrella Sevilla spoke last, she was amazing, I purchased all 3 of the books she had mentioned. Her discussion about how we treat ourselves having an impact on how we treat others convinced me I had stuff to learn. I have been dwelling with one of those books, Ross Gay's The Book of Delights, has a yellow cover, ever since. The book is composed of daily delights that the Black author and poet has chosen to share with us. I am having a hard time releasing this book back to the UTC library. In one, he talks about the sanctity of trains, upon which folks will leave their seats to go for a trip to the bathroom or whatever, leaving laptops and purses and what have you on the seat, and their trust is not violated. He says the point is that in almost every instance of our social lives, we are, if we pay attention, in the midst of an almost constant, if subtle, caretaking, holding open doors, offering elbows at sidewalks, crosswalks, letting someone else go first, helping with the heavy bags, reaching what's too high or what's been dropped. This caretaking is our default mode, and it's always a lie that convinces us to act or believe otherwise. In other words, when people tell us we can't trust anyone, they're not speaking whole truths. He is reminding me of the way we daily live in community, that investing a little more trust in our neighbors might just be justified. But being in community with Ross can mean opening ourselves to a point of view that would simply not occur to us if we are white. This particular reading hit me precisely because I am white, really white, because the thoughts he shared would simply never have occurred to me, ever. If he had not shared them and I had not read them, his thought process is triggered by a quote on the wall of an elevator, attributed to Thomas Jefferson. "The sun has not caught me in bed for 50 years. That's what it read. Now I read that and I think, wow, how not lazy, how not self-indulgent. He must have been a really hard worker. But then Ross reminds me how limited my perception is when he says this. But this Jeffersonian sentence especially glows with stupidity, with cruelty. When you picture him at his desk, up before the sun in his parlor, drinking tea he did not make or pour, eating a crumpet he did not make or even put on the plate, scratching this and other pithy statements with his quill dipped into a well he did not fill, because he owned 600 people, and most of them were probably already at work. I find it shocking how often I find myself distinctly clueless, don't you? But it's a reminder that no matter how much I read, there are those who have studied more in any particular subject, and there are even more those who have lived experiences different from mine. I can only build understanding in myself by spending time with others, whether that is in person or in the written and spoken word. I greatly value that understanding. It has made my life so much more rich. Spending time with plumbers and electricians, scholars, salespeople, students, even the checkout woman at CVS. And while being willing to engage helps us to learn how much others are like ourselves, we still have to grow into letting them be themselves. It is hubris to believe that they should be more like ourselves. What gives us that right to think everyone should reshape themselves into our image? The pandemic has given us honest practice in trust or distrust and brutal lessons in the application of the first principle, the inherent worth and dignity of every person. On the issue of vaccination, we may have sacrificed relationships with friends and family members, leaving these to die on whatever altar we have created. It is so easy to apply the first principle when we agree with one another. When we don't, we have to be so much more intentional about that goodwill. Because it's always the other person who's at fault, right? Don't we always cast ourselves as the white knight? I really liked what Reverend Bob said in his article this month. May our love and respect for everyone of all opinions on such subjects allow us to be gentle listeners as we move forward together. This is a path worth following. This is a path worth seeking out, regardless of our discomfort. Which brings me to the heart of the message this morning. We are all lovers of comfort. We can so easily separate ourselves from our families, from our friends, and build igloos of contentment where we not only wish nothing evil to cross this door, but we can't even stand a challenging conversation. Our nerves may be so raw that our comfort zone is only in our homes, or only on a trail in the forest, or only scrolling through social media, or only dinner with one or two select friends. Some of us have had our comfort zones shrunk to minuscule fractions of what they were. Our tendencies toward seeking comfort, as Khalil Gibran states, can become our master, making puppets of our larger desires. Comfort can lull us to sleep, he says, murdering the passion of our souls. One of the ways you may have found this manifest is in the call to action required by the war in Ukraine. How many of us have turned off the news and drowned our dismay with some other distraction and have taken no action at all? No donation, no nothing. Which, by the way, you can make a donation at the uusc.org website. I confess to binging on the TV series NCIS, which is where I found the song Nothing More that you heard earlier. And we can tell ourselves that we would never participate in something like that there's no way we would war against another. But if we have condemned another's response to COVID, isn't that what we have done? Doesn't war start in cities, in our homes, in our own hearts first? We can argue all we want in a particular direction, but attachment to the outcome we desire does not honor our principles, and it only causes misery. Fight for what you believe is right, but don't crucify those of another opinion. Leave the battlefield. Remember the third principle, acceptance of one another and encouragement to spiritual growth. Maybe it's a good time for us to post these principles on our refrigerators for a week or so to make us consciously dial back the antagonism. Our need for the other is not limited to other humans, but in fact, it is even easier for us to disregard the sanctity of other forms of life as less worthy. We are so cozy in our technical gear and insulated homes that we may feel untouchable. But we need trees, and not just for soulful nurture. Trees are literally what keeps any land more than 200 miles inland from turning to desert We need trees, shrubs, flowers, insects, birds, other mammals and fish, and the plankton that generates 70% of the world's oxygen. Because we literally can't live without them. It's all connected. So just as we need to honor and care for our fellow humans, we also need to care for the rest of the world above the magma. For the rest of the species on the planet, human consumption of habitat is a lethal threat. And we can't afford the loss of those species, so we have to decide how to, dare I say, comfortably reduce our threat to these others. There are things we can do, but we need to do them together because one person is not enough. Many of our younger families concerned about the repercussions for their children have made deliberate, not just economic choices, to occupy smaller houses. What is needed, however, to preserve at least 85% of the planet's biodiversity, is to conserve 50% of land and oceans for its use. 50% creates enough space for those species to be self-sustaining. We're still going to lose a pile, but 85% is apparently the magic number. In the U.S., 85% of all land is actually in private hands. Now, I don't want to give up my little quarter-acre lot. I'm kind of comfortable there, if you get my drift. So what can I do? What work can I engage in that will help? But what will I do make any difference? Maybe I shouldn't bother, since we'll never get there, and maybe it would be better if the human species died off anyway. Now, you know that's not me. But the depression rampant among youth is partly rooted in this. The impacts of climate change, the idea that there will only be a Mad Max survivalist world to live in, I'd be pretty depressed too. So we may have to find some way to break out of our comfort zones to connect with these kids who are balancing gender identities, climate change, horrific political discourse, and a war they can't escape on social media. A new article from Yale 360 describes the loss of aural diversity, the sounds we hear from frogs and crickets and everything else. David George Haskell writes, "Tree plantations or row crops are acoustically bland and anemic compared to the vigor and lush sonic variegations of a forest abounding in diverse life. Excess engine and industrial noise also causes loss of sonic diversity by smothering other sounds and fragmenting the acoustic links that formerly linked populations and communities. Imagine that you are a male song sparrow trying to woo the women of the world, singing to the top of your lungs, and she can't hear you because a truck just drove by. Then there's the loss caused by our inattention. When we cease to listen, the richness of human sensory experience, a necessary foundation for right action, is eroded. Kermit and Princess Luella would like us to start paying attention, to listen to what remains and to strive to restore what we can. I am very proud of the city of Brevard for moving forward on initiatives that will have a protective effect on insects, on water quality, and on human safety. New street trees will be expensive to install, but they will reduce the heat index around our main thoroughfares and provide habitat for insects. Dark sky lighting will reduce light pollution, which impacts both birds and insects. All of these are good, positive steps we should loudly, even vociferously support. Maybe you've never written a letter to the editor, but now would be a great time. Or write your government representatives, state level. Make some time for the work that needs doing to make good ideas actually stick. I am even more proud of our own Grow Getters group. These individuals are working hard every Tuesday, and this is hard work, to remove invasive species of plants from our campus. They have spent weeks eradicating the grass-like liriope alone, and they haven't even gotten to the stuff around the front parking lot. They have replanted natives that were in a less optimal place, and they have received encouragement from a neighboring property owner. Y'all gonna come all the way down here? That would be great. And another neighbor is replanting a privacy hedge using a native plant to replace the invasive privet he was using as a privacy hedge. Good encourages good, and good work is even more inspiring. As I wrote this, I could see a pine tree I have cherished. It's in the cemetery behind our house. It is ailing, dying, choked to death by invasive English ivy. I could have called friends and asked for help cutting away the 3-inch vines, completing a woven netting around the entire trunk, choking off the nutrients the tree needed. I could have, but I didn't. I put it off, telling myself there would be another day, the weather would be better, I'd be less tired. But there I was, staring at the needles going brown and knowing it was too late. I had indulged my comfort and failed to gather others to the cause. It would have been within our power, but now it is too late. What good could you be doing that you have set aside? Is it too late for that? Could you work with others to make a difference? Could we work with you to make a difference? To be the change, we who are landowners need to look at the footprint of our homes and see if we can convert 50% of that lot to habitat. While many scientists are pushing government to support what is called the Half-Earth Project, Professor Doug Tallamy tells us not to wait. He is encouraging us to rehab our yards and register our landscapes as part of the homegrown national park, making a commitment to making space on our property to support others that are not human. Tallamy says, in the past, we asked one thing of our gardens, that they be pretty. Now they have to support life, sequester carbon, feed pollinators, and manage water. It is not an easy thing to dig up what looks nice and tidy and neat and put in a smaller thing that we will have to wait on to grow. But a small oak tree will immediately be put to work by at least one of over 600 species that require it. If you have the room, plant an oak. Khalil Gibran, still speaking on comfort in his work, The Prophet, said, "But you, children of space, you restless in rest, you shall not be trapped nor tamed. Your house shall not be an anchor, but a mast. And though of magnificence and splendor, your house shall not hold your secret nor shelter your longing. For that which is boundless in you abides in the mansion of the sky, whose door is the morning mist, and whose windows are the songs and the silences of the night." You may not be able to do the work that the grow-getters are doing. You may have a job. But there are other ways you can support this effort. And there are other things we as a congregation need, such as making that essential elixir we know as coffee, or saying good morning to all who enter our doors. And I'm asking you today to take that step away from your comfort zone, to make one small change that helps all of us reclaim the joys we have known. Joy we will remember when we get our hands back in the work. Now is the time, friends. Now is the time to gather, to rise, to claim a task, to gather and do the work of love together. Because you alone are not enough, and neither am I. Thank you. Please rise and sing our closing hymn, number 346, Come Sing a Song with Me. Come sing a song with me. Come sing a song with me. Come rose in the winter time. Come dream a dream with me. Come dream a dream with me. Come dream a dream with me, that I might know your mind. And I'll bring you home when hope is hard to find. And I'll bring a song of love and a rose in the winter time. Come walk in rain with me. Come walk in rain with me. Come walk in rain with me, that I might know your mind. And I'll bring you home when hope is hard to find. And I'll bring a song of love and a rose in the winter time. Come share a rose with me. Come share a rose with me. Come share a rose with me, that I might know your mind. And I'll bring you hope when hope is hard to find. And I'll bring a song of love and a rose in the winter time. Our closing words today, and I guess this time I should actually extinguish the chalice. Excuse me. Are from our hymnal, number 693. And now may we have faith in life to do wise planting, that the generations to come may reap even more abundantly than we. May we be bold in bringing to fruition the golden dreams of human kinship and justice. This we ask, that the fields of promise become fields of reality. Thank you.
To be humble, to be kind, it is a giving of the peace in your mind. To a stranger, to a friend, to give in such a way that has no end. We are love, we are one, we are how we treat each other when the day is done. We are peace, we are war, we are how we treat each other and nothing more. And to be bold, to be brave, it is the thinking that the heart can still be saved.